There you go.
Yeah.
Also, you might have to move the camera a little bit. Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm kind of there. Maybe a
Yeah,
smidge.
Also,
Maybe a smidge.
Also,
There we go.
Can you change my name in the overlay to razorflamekun, all lowercase? Thank you. And are we live right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello everyone, this is razorflamekun. I'm gonna be this is a bit earlier than expected. But I'm going to be playing my final run, which is Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. I'm going to be playing the Intense, which is the hardest difficulty, and with me is going to be Dark Aries. He's going to be doing the commentary, as I'm not going to be able to talk during the run because this category is just that hard. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to start. We're going to go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1, start.
Cool. So, like the other puzzle challenge games, the character you pick really doesn't have any value, even though it's Pokemon, and you would think that type advantages are a thing. They're not. So, this game does make a lot more sense if you played any of the other Panel Upon, Pokemon Puzzle League, whatever in the series, depending on how you call them, PDP, PPL. It's gone through many different variations. This is probably one of the hardest games to speedrun, actually, in the series itself, just because of how high the difficulty gets. Every single iteration of the game just gets a little more difficult in terms of difficulty and how it goes. This is specifically the Intense category, which, of course, in classic puzzle fashion, you unlock after beating all the rest of the categories. Now, normally when you play a normally when you play a puzzle league game, the way that it works is that it's a match 3 game. So if you've ever played Bejeweled or any one of those things, it's swap the panels together. You can only move them left or right. They do drop due to gravity, but you can't move them vertically. And creating a thing of 3 causes them to clear. Now, you also have things called chains. What are chains? Well, the easiest thing to do is whenever you see right there, that's a chain right there, that times 4, that's when you have a block drop into another block, and that causes the chain. The higher the chain, obviously, the more garbage happens. In some games, there's a strategy to how the garbage drops because you can see your opponent, especially in competitive, when you can see how your opponent's doing, how high their stack is, there's a little bit of a strategy there to know when to cut off your chain, because the amount, how high your chain is depends on how large the garbage is. What is garbage, you're probably wondering now? Well, that's the big massive blocks that fall from the sky, pretty much. Now, you can also create smaller pieces of garbage by doing something called a combo. Probably like, well, what the heck is a combo? Well, I'm going to teach you right now. So combo is right there. That's a 4 right there. Anything that's a larger match than 3 is called a combo. So now we know what a combo is. Now we know what a chain is. Using them effectively is what lets you win the game. Now, if you are new to this game, one of the strategies actually involved is something called a drop chain. And it's exactly as you expect. It's when you create a chain by dropping. So one of the easiest things to do as a beginner in this game is when you are sent garbage, you create a clear of 3, and it attaches to the garbage, and then the bottom row of that garbage, or others, or more of it, depending. As you can see, that whole thing clears. We'll get to that in a second. It will turn into blocks, and those blocks will fall. Now, when those blocks fall, you can use them to slide 2 or more panels together, and when the one from the garbage falls, you've created now a chain, and that easily allows you to grow maybe a 3, a 4, a 5 chain based off the garbage that you've been given, and it's kind of a way to fight back, in a sense. Now, another strategy just in general in this game is to play with a very high stack. A stack, if I haven't mentioned it already, is your playfield. It's what's made up of the panels. Maybe people call it something else other than a stack. I call it a stack because that's what I would call it in Tetris. And it's just your playfield of, not even the playfield, but the actual panels in there right now. So you start off very high to give you a maximum amount of panels to work with to let you create combos and chains. As you can notice, when garbage starts to fall, you have to be careful, because if you let it drop too much, you no longer can do any clears to clear the garbage, and you have lost. Now, this being a mobile version of the game, especially when it's such a low resolution like the Game Boy Color, how do you show a versus, essentially? If you remember Tetris Attack, which is just paneled upon with Yoshi characters instead of fairies, you see your side of the playfield and you see your opponent's side of the playfield, and that's pretty much how it goes for the rest of the series. Here, what they decide to do is the opponent has a health bar instead, and whenever you send garbage, it causes that health bar to drain. As you can see, whenever attacks happen, that life meter will kind of drop depending on how things go. They also, of course, do chains back. I'm unsure if in the background there actually is an AI doing chains and all that stuff. That is beyond my area of expertise here. But as you can see, they also send garbage back with those numbers that kind of pop up. And that's kind of how you deal with things. The more you get into it, the stages, the harder the opponents get. There's also a convenient timer for you as well. That's pretty much the basics of the game itself. When you start off the game, you won't have that many Pokemon in your party. You'll be unlocking them as the game goes on, which can be very annoying if you're doing speedruns and you don't have them all unlocked yet, because there's a chance to get a battle with them, which you then have to either die or try to just get rid of as quickly as possible. So it's generally advised if you were going to speedrun this game, and I don't know why you would pick this one to be your first speedrun, since there are much easier games in the series, but if you did, you probably want to actually have all the characters unlocked first. There we go. Another thing, kind of backtracking here, I don't think we've seen it yet, but we probably will at some point, is there's something called shock blocks. Shock blocks allow you to create garbage that is actually a different color from the regular garbage. It creates more of like a black, in steel. Yeah, in steel. In this, in the Pokemon series of things, it looks like a Pokeball. To show that's different, by the way, the shapes are based off of, in Pokemon Puzzle League, they're based off of the badges in the series. This is using the classic style font. Ooh, and that's what I was talking about earlier, how if you clear too much, you don't have anything to work with, and the garbage overwhelms you.
Or if you mismanage blocks.
Yeah, it's something to do. Luckily, this game has unlimited continues, pretty much. If you get to 99, well, it just continues and doesn't climb up any higher, so there you go. But, right, so with the shock blocks, when it creates that garbage, if you remember my explanation earlier, it would kind of go through the whole garbage and turn them into the panels. The shock blocks pretty much put the stop to that. As soon as the clear hits the shock part of the garbage, it stops, and then you have to do another clear to get rid of the shock garbage, and then another clear to get rid of the panels. So it's very annoying. The panels don't show up all the time. They kind of show up as the game goes on, as a way to kind of speed the game up. Another way that the game tries to speed the matches along is that it literally speeds up the game. As time goes on, the stack continues to move upwards and upwards by itself. Early on, of course, when it starts off slow, you manually push it up yourself to try to get in that maximum amount of panels to work with. But as matches can get intense, especially if you're in a competitive versus, you pretty much just rely on the game itself pushing it up, because you can't safely have them push up yourself. In moments of like a breather or anything like that, you get a chance, but otherwise you have to make sure that the game doesn't push it up itself and potentially cause you to top out. Top out, if I have to explain it, is literally that your stack or garbage has reached the top of the screen and cannot go any higher, because then you top out. For beginners, it's very often that you'll see they'll just be smashing the triggers in the other games, or I think it's the B button for this game. They'll do it too much, and then it just hits the top, and they've died, and they need to start all over. So that's something to look into. Make sure you don't hit it that much. Or can I get some water, please? This is a lot of talking, and I normally don't do the commentary. I'm normally behind running the tech here, but because, actually, you're probably wondering, like, oh, why is this game? This wasn't ahead. Well, the next 2 to 3 runners are actually local to the region, and by local, I mean they're about an hour, hour and a half car drive away. There is major traffic happening on the major highways to get here in beautiful Niagara Falls, so they are currently delayed. So that's okay, we just shuffle the schedule around a bit. And ideally, when this run is done, we will get them set up and everything will be back to normal. So, There you go. Done. The way the progression works in this game is a bit, thank you very much, is a bit like Pokemon Puzzle Challenge if you've ever played it, or if you've ever played the Pokemon games or watched the anime itself. It starts off with the gym leaders. In this case, it's the Pokemon Gold and Silver gym leaders, and we will make our way all the way to the Elite Four, defeat the Elite Four, and then there you go. I'm going to have a sip of water here. I'm sure Hydration Bot has reminded everyone to stay hydrated. I'm reminding you guys to stay hydrated.
Might want to talk about stop time at some point.
Right, stop time. That is a thing that we have not gone over yet. So, stop time is actually, wow, I can't English right now. Give me a moment. I need to rethink the terminology in English and not in Polish right now. Okay, so whenever you do a clear, or whenever you do a chain or a combo, obviously a larger one, you have something called a stop timer. You'll notice that the stack isn't moving up at all. Oh, and there's the example of the steel shock block garbage. See, I told you it would show up eventually. As long as you're continuing to do clears and everything like that, your stop time continues to accumulate, and it keeps the stack from raising by itself. Now, if you aren't clearing, your stop time will go away, and then the stack is going to clear, not clear, it's going to start rising. So the key in this game is to pretty much be always moving and always clearing, or else you will be in hot water.
You got 4 seconds.
Yeah, so...
Before you die.
4 seconds before you die. So, as you can see there, when you have the large stack, it's very easy to get those large chains in. Depending on the series of the game itself, for example, in Tetris Attack / Panel Con or in Pokemon Puzzle League, you can get insanely large chains, but the playfield is also larger in those games as well, I believe.
Yes.
They're wider, maybe even taller. But in any case, you can do at least something in Pokemon Puzzle League called a Forky Strat, where you literally get to a mystery chain, and I believe a mystery chain is 13 or larger.
In this game, it's 31 or larger.
Perfect.
It's ridiculous in this
Yeah.
game.
Alright, we're almost done with Seal here.
Nah, this might be a death. Yep, soon be
yeah.
death. That's fine.
Yeah, and that just happens from time to time where...
In this category especially, there's only 4 or 5 people I know that have completely deathless runs that are actually even capable of doing 1CCs.
Yeah. As far as I know, there's only one game in this series that is even harder than this game, and that is Planet Puzzle League on the DS. I've been told that the AI in that game is just absolutely ridiculous and not even... It's just completely unfair. So, and a lot of people don't actually run that game because of DS capture limitations. There is only a handful of people who have a DS capture card to begin with. There's a DSi version out there, but the 3DS Wi-Fi streaming doesn't work with it because it breaks out of the 3DS mode and a bunch of other shenanigans. So, due to its high difficulty and pretty much inaccessibility to streaming beyond emulation, a lot of people don't run it. But I'm sure we'll get there at some point.
You might want to
Since
talk,
it is
you might
the
want to talk
step
about
up
the
there.
healing in this difficulty.
Right.
They are able to heal infinitely, basically.
Yeah, so you'll notice, if you haven't noticed anyways, the life bars on the side where the enemy Pokemon is, it does go back up when they do things and they start spamming their animal cries. There is a chance for the health bar to go up, and it can get pretty insane where you have them pretty much dead, and then all of a sudden their health bar can go as high up as like half health, essentially.
2/3, right around 2/3.
2/3.
And then it's actually when they do nothing, that's when you know that they're actually going to use it for healing, like right there.
Yeah. So it's honestly, as intense or as challenging as this game is, one of the things that is probably the most annoying about it is the fact that you have no idea how your opponent is actually doing, unlike other action puzzling games. If you compare it to even the other games in the series, or a game like Puyo Puyo or Puzzle Fighter, anything along those lines, you always know what your opponent's stack looks like if they're about near death, or if they're actually doing proper matches. In the case of even other games in the series themselves, there's little tricks that you can pick up on if you haven't been playing the tutorials. Or they'll do a drop chain or a match by doing that or anything like that. But if your only introduction to the series is this game itself, it's kind of hard to see what you're supposed to be doing, which is why a lot of people, like I said, start off with other games in the series, mainly Tetris Attack, because it's the easiest and most accessible in the series. You can beat the hardest difficulty in, like, what, 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how things go.
About 13 minutes, I think. 14, no, 15, I think it's like around there somewhere.
It's somewhere there.
World record of this category is actually 14:21.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's some intense grinding that happens in this game, mainly by a couple select people in the puzzle community. Shoutouts to Puzzle General. If you want to join a Discord where a bunch of people play these games and maybe get some tips and tricks, or at least talk with the people who are always running it, you may as well join Puzzle General. It's just a general speedrunning Discord. A lot of its roots are in the games from this series, though. A lot of the people in it are from Puzzle League, but there's also the Dr. Mario community and other people in there as well to talk about your favorite puzzle speed games. Personally, I've been playing a lot of Crystal Crisis on the Nintendo Switch because that came out and actually has a colorblind mode, which means I can play it properly, unlike the Yoshi's Cookie game, for example, from a day or two ago. That was painful. Actually, I think considering colorblind, this game is actually pretty alright. I've beaten this mode on my 3DS because it's just a lot easier to play portable. Obviously, I suck at the game still, but I have beaten it after, I don't know, like a day or two of trying. So it's very doable with trial and effort. There are times where you just luck out and get something called a quick kill. Quick kills in this game don't really exist in comparison to Pokemon Puzzle League or Tetris Attack, where in those games you have a set strategy where it'll be like, oh, you're gonna start off with like a 4 combo, and then you're gonna do like a 6 chain, and that's gonna instantly drop, and then they're gonna have a super low stack, and then the garbage drops, and that's just enough that if they rise, they're gonna top out, and it's gonna be like under 10 or 15 seconds, and you're just gonna do that the whole game, and if you get that, you are the literal god gamer, and you have world record. In this game, as you can see, that really doesn't exist. Even if you were to be a Super Saiyan with button mashing and everything else, and wanted to pull off super intense chains, it just, because of the life bar system and everything else, it's not a thing. Which also leads to its own challenge as well. One of the things I actually haven't mentioned is when you get into drop chaining. I don't know if I haven't noticed it yet, but it's probably happening. I'm talking and trying to pay attention to multiple things at once. Is when you are doing drop chains off the garbage, you want to stagger them, because if you have multiple columns of panels and they're going to clear off that one row of panels coming from the garbage, they're all going to count as a combo chain. Like, it'll be like a 9 clear at once time, and then only add 1 to the chain. If you stagger them so they're at different heights, then the game will count them as a separate chain, so then you'll see that times 2, times 3, times 4 happen all at once, and that's how you can actually really build those drop chains from the garbage there. Which is why, like I said, using that method as a beginner is super helpful, because it can be powerful.
It just happened right there, actually.
Yeah. Another thing right there is you can see that you can do drop chains just from your own stack as well. If you plan your clears properly, when the panels above it fall, they can go into another clear, and you can really see the full effects of that if you look at any videos of high-level play of the 3D mode in Pokemon Puzzle League, where instead of a small playfield like this, you actually have a 3D cylinder of panels, and that just gets so ridiculous. I'm pretty sure you can 99 chain in it, especially because the game gets super laggy, even on a real N64. But it's really bad on the Nintendo Wii through Virtual Console, and there's just so many panels, and you can always just wrap around so much. It's just, oh geez, you can create super duper long chains out of it. So therefore, that's why a lot of people actually like to play this game competitively. I'm pretty sure at one point it had an esports scene, quote unquote, in Japan, with the games in this series. The thing is, there's no real way to play versus in this game by any official means. So unlike in Japan, where there was still a hardcore Puyo Puyo kind of tournament scene going on before the online versions came out and everything like that. There was really no way to practice except for locally. So pretty much out of necessity, a lot of high-level players, what they did was they turned to speedrunning. And that's where you can also see a lot of different play styles, where you have people who are just super duper fast at movement left or right, and they can pretty much brute force their way into clears and chains and combos. Then you have other players who are slower, but a lot more meticulous in the way that they choose their panels.
Like BP4P.
Yeah. So it's very interesting when you see the different play styles and how they work in speedrunning. Being always the fastest is not the fastest player is not necessarily gonna get you a world record on compared to something like NES Tetris, or if anyone watched the recent Classic World Tetris Championship, CWTC, I can't remember his name right now.
Joseph Saley.
Yeah, Joseph. He won the tournament because he learned how to hyper tap, and there were Japanese players such as Corian and SGT Sugoi Green Tea, I think that's his handle, where they just button mash, rapid tap, and you can get really high because in a game like that, you can tap faster than the game allows you to move left and right, and beyond anything like that, like, yeah, you can move super fast left and right in a game like this, but if you don't know where you're putting how you're swapping your pieces, or if you drop a piece in between your movement and you have to double back or anything like that, well, now you're just losing time, right? So even though you can spam panels left and right, if you don't really know what you're dealing with them, that's also going to be detrimental. But right, so a speedrunning scene was pretty much built out of this game, out of a desire to be competitive with everyone else and to see how you compare with everyone else. Now, nowadays, there actually is ways to play versus with other people, and there have been tournaments. There is a homebrew called Panel Attack, made in Lua or Love? Love is Lua. I don't know. In either case, it's a homebrew. It tries to replicate Tetris Attack / Panel de Pawn as much as it can in its gameplay mechanics, and it has a built-in online. What people were doing before that is they were also playing Retro Arch with its online component, doing versus, but Panel Attack is just super light, super slim. If you join the Puzzle General Discord, there is a community section where there's a bunch of links to a bunch of different Discords, and you'll see a Discord there. They like to have tournaments all the time, and actually people who didn't know the speedrun scene existed, such as Yoshimitsu, who was just a competitive Puzzle League / Tetris Attack player in Brazil?
And Puzzle League,
I want to say?
Yep,
yeah.
Brazil, and Puzzle League as well.
And Puzzle League. He joined this tournament because, cool, online competitive with a bunch of other people, and then he realized, oh, there's, like, speedrunning this, and then he actually had a world record in Tetris Attack for a little while. I think he lost it.
Nope, he has all.
He still has it, alright.
All categories.
In all the categories. So yeah, there's just, and for the longest time, nobody in the community knew he kind of existed. It's one of those things where probably every speedrunning community has, where a person comes out from nowhere and just kind of demolishes everything.
Right, the last two stages have been absolute crap, taking me over 4 minutes. The stage time you want to average is about a minute and a half for these fights. And going way over is not good. Because but the time variance is huge in this category. My sum of best is 18 minutes faster than my PB. It's just that ridiculous.
I just realized I didn't have chat open, so if chat has any questions, feel free to ask them right now. Because now I am actually paying attention to my phone. Just leave that right there for now. Right there.
This is the worst Pokemon.
How many stages? There's like what?
13.
13 stages. I want to say 15 because I can never remember. But yeah, there's 13 stages. Yeah, so stage 13. 9, so there's 4 more stages left. So we're almost there. It depends on how the rest of this goes.
Right now it's starting to go. The first like 5 stages were all within a minute and a half, which is good. But then they started getting a lot longer, and there's one stage that's going to be coming up. Hitmontop. He has the most HP in the game by far, and that means that he is most likely to go over and be the longest fight in the game. I've had fights with him last over almost 10 minutes.
Can you make Jinx sound more like a singer in any Disney movie?
No.
No. That is never gonna happen. Yeah, get used to it.
This is, like I said, I was about to say, this is the worst cry in the game.
I mean, there's other cries. Pokemon Puzzle League is infamous for some of its cries that the Pokemon do, especially when you do crazy chains in them. You can get like the infamous cloister sound effect that happens, and there's also another one as well. In that game as well, what happens is the trainers / gym leaders themselves, they'll do their own catchphrase as well. Yeah, like in chat, I'm feeling giddy, is something that James will say when you're versing Team Rocket. Giovanni just is like, oh, you're wasting my time, and a bunch of other things. So, what this game gained in mechanics and difficulty and everything else, it kind of lost in the aesthetics, I guess I would say, from the previous game.
By the way. Bottom left or right, they're just black exclamation marks.
What are those tiles at the bottom?
Those are shock blocks.
Yeah, the exclamation marks are the shock blocks, which cause the steel garbage.
And they do a lot, with a regular player, they do a lot more damage than than a chain or a combo, sorry. This fight's going really long, too. But that's like par for the course in this category, is you're going to have fights go this long, regardless of how well you play. Because this game has RNG for days.
Somebody in chat mentioned aesthetics my ass. You mean meme potential. Yes, welcome to the meme potential that the puzzle community has known for years now. Literal years. There's a lot of FFZ emotes based around it. If you look at the emotes on the Puzzle General Twitch channel themselves, where tournaments and stuff will be streamed, there's a couple emotes there as well, based off the memery. But yeah.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
The RNG is way too strong right now. Yes, absolutely it is.
Yeah, like I said before, this is the game of mine that's most likely to go over estimate by, and it can go over by up to probably 10 minutes at the very high ends, which would be unfortunate.
That cry will haunt me in my nightmares. Yeah, that's possible. NASA isn't responsible for any nightmares that you may incur while watching this stream. traffic percent has gone way over estimate as well, so it evens out. I'd agree. I'd agree. Especially since the traffic has been ongoing for the past couple hours, as far as I understand, so it's been pretty backed up. Pretty backed up.
So in the last, I'd say, the last couple days, I've had 3 runs die in succession to the last fight, this fight, and the next fight. Or no, this fight, the next fight, and Murkrow, which is the fight after. Had 3 runs die out of 6 for those 3. Was 3 minutes 10 ahead and ended him on top, which is the next fight, over almost 8.5 minutes behind. That's just how ridiculous the RNG in this game can get. And this is the only game I've actually thrown my controller after getting really blocked by him the layer. This is the only game I've actually thrown my controller.
Hey Lurk, can you do us a favor? Can you bring down the game audio in the mix? Thank you, Base Lurk-chan. Somebody also asked, is there a reason that he only uses Cyndaquil? In these games, it's literally a pick your poison. I'm gonna assume that you just like Cyndaquil and can tolerate his cry for hours on it.
No, I can do either this or Cyndaquil. Is that or Totodile? It doesn't really matter to me. Most people actually just use Chikorita because this is the first one.
Yeah.
That is selectable, but I choose to spend a couple frames to move over 1 to choose Cyndaquil, but I can't be bothered to move 2 over for Totodile.
Yeah, we got your back, chat. If shit breaks, let us know. We actually look into fixing that ASAP. Alright, so it's looking interesting at the moment. I do wish I knew more of the back-end mechanics as to, for example, why there's a bunch of combo garbage in comparison to the chain garbage that just popped up.
It's actually RNG for all of the fights, or I mean not RNG, it's determinate on all the fights, they just flip-flop back and forth between doing combo and then doing chain.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's basically just RNG whether they do it, and they when they do chains, they can do up to a 10 chain. But if they do anything below a 10 chain, they can do a 7 chain. They're 7 and 4 chain. They always do a combo after it. Like there, you saw they did a 4 combo. They always do that afterwards.
Yeah, I've kind of reached at least the point of like things that I can really explain about this game specifically. Kind of topped out at my knowledge, but I'm willing to answer any questions Chad has right now. So let me see him, hear him. I am here for you, chat. Let me know what I can do for you. Thank you, Stay Hydrated Bot. Reminder that we should have consumed 2 liters for optimum hydration. I'm pretty sure that we have. The hotel here has these massive water coolers, yeah, that they're just in the room and a bunch of cups to drink. Maybe. But it says that we've been active or streaming for 17 hours, so you know, you gotta stay hydrated.
There is actually one thing I can explain. There are 2 additional techniques where if you clear something, like there, I just did right there, you have 2 frames when you to swap there, and you can swap and get like I did just there, you can get an additional chain. And then there's one where you literally take a block out of midair as it's falling down and swap it and get a chain. That is frame perfect in this game.
Yeah, there is some frame perfect swag that you can do in this game.
I'm not gonna even try it in this difficulty. It's not worth it.
Actually, this brings me to a conversation where we had in the Discord where Blinzer, who is a runner of Pokemon Puzzle League, he unfortunately had to drop for this event. But if you look at other NASA marathons, I believe in NASA 1 and NASA 2, definitely NASA 1, he did a marathon run, and he just has insane movements. He's probably one of the fastest players.
Yoshimitsu's faster.
I believe Blitzer is the second fastest player.
Yeah.
Yoshi's probably the fastest that I know of. But here's the him on top, the equalizer I call him. This is the fight that can go on the longest in this game because of his massive HP pool. Like his HP pool in comparison to all the other opponents is about, I want to say, 2 or 3 times more than all the other except for Murkrow, all the other opponents you fight in this game. Murkrow, speaking of Murkrow has the fastest attack speed, or the ones that, the way attack works is they have to generate a certain number, and then after they generate that number, they do an attack. Murkrow's number is the lowest, which means he generates the most attacks.
Actually, so speaking of things, the clear he just did up there above the garbage, that's something that we call second tier. It's when you go to the second tier of the play field to go get a clear. It's very annoying in the other games, such as Tetris Attack, Panel Upon, Pokemon Puzzle League. When the AI does a second tier, when you get to Mewtwo in Pokemon Puzzle League, we've even seen third tier happen on a rare Blue Moon, so if you ever see somebody mention those, that's what it is. There's a couple questions in chat. Are you adequately hydrated? Yes, I am. What is your favorite flavor of pie?
I don't know. Cherry? Sure.
Cherry's a pretty strong one. Personally, I really like either the strawberry rhubarb or the lemon meringue. Those I think are fairly strong choices.
I like pumpkin pie too, but yeah. If you're looking to get into Puzzle League in general, I would say Tetris Attack is okay, except that yep, that's a death. Okay, that's fine. But this actual game on the lower difficulties is actually not that bad. You can learn easy on this difficulty in like 30 minutes if you want. But this overall, this drop speed in this game of the panels is the slowest in the series. So it's actually, this game is actually pretty beginner friendly for the easy and normal. But once you get past that, you're gonna need a lot more. It's just gonna be a lot. You're gonna need a lot more practice. No, just a lot more practice and patience, especially patience. One thing that also should be pointed out is that when you are actually doing chains or combos, all of the garbage that your opponent would have sent, it gets, okay, that's fine. All of the garbage that your opponent would send gets held until after you finish the chain. In terms of continues, this run's looking about like my practice runs. The least continues I've been able to do is actually only one. Use one continue. That's the least number I've been able to do for this game. For all the other games, I've been able to do one combo clears, with the exception of Panel de Pon. No, not Panel de Pon. Tetris. Pokemon Puzzle League, because I ran that game for like once on each category, and I was like, nope, don't like this. If anyone's curious, my PB in this is a 32:41, which is still last on the leaderboards, believe it or not. But my original PB was a 101, so I've already taken my PB down over 30 minutes since I started speedrunning this. And last place is still within the top 12 of this category. You also, another thing that you might be seeing is I'm doing a lot of combos in addition to the chains. Like I'm doing a 2-chain 4 combo at the same time. That actually does help. It helps you deal a little bit more damage than normal. And especially if you want to get just that little bit more damage, you can easily do that. Basically, a lot of the RNG is the heal RNG, and you'll know if you just watch the HP bar next to the opponent, just watch that for an entire fight, and you'll see what I mean by that RNG being absolutely ridiculously horrible and causing lots of pain for a lot of runners. Like right there, he healed. That's just something you're going to have to get used to if you want to run this category, because you're going to see it jump up a lot. Whoops. He's gonna heal. I'm not gonna be able to do anything about that. He's gonna heal before I can do anything. Yep, there's the heal. They can actually go one further where they heal and then they heal again before you can do anything. So they literally heal twice in a row. That's a lot more uncommon, but it can happen, and that can cost a lot of time. Okay. So this is the opponent that can attacks you the most, because it generates the number the fastest. Just watch it might, like right there, you saw I did 4, 5, then 6, 7, like in quick succession. That's his fast attack speed at work. And when he does combos, you'll see that he sometimes chain combos, where, like right there, where he did like a 5 and 4 or a 6 and 4 almost simultaneously. That's just something he can do. Like right, it's just kind of crazy what some of these NPCs can do. Also, Murkrow also has a fairly decent amount of HP as well. Not nearly as much as Hitmontop, but it still requires a lot to get through. Like, in order to one-shot these guys, you have to do like something like a 50-something chain. Cards of the Heart, who's another runner of a lot of the Puzzle League games, and holds numerous world records in all of them, has done all of the data dumps and stuff for this game, and he's the one that knows all of the technical information for this game.
So, actually, this reminds me of something I was getting to earlier, with Blinzer being one of the fastest players. There's actually an interesting discussion that was had in the Puzzle General Discord, where we were discussing how much APM you can hit when playing games like this, and it turns out when you are a very fast player such as Blinzer, Yoshimitsu, or FFR, or any of those, you can hit very, very high, like beyond those super high APM stats that StarCraft players would always throw around and everything. So when you think about it, when you go left and right, that's an action, and when you're also hitting the swap button, that's an action, and then when you're also raising the stack as well. So when you're doing a massive amount of clears, you can hit a lot of actions within a short time frame, especially when it's only pretty much secluded to 6 buttons, maybe plus 2 if you're counting the shoulders, but it can get insanely high.
No, that shouldn't have been a death there. Oh well. Looking like this is going to be about a 50-minute time, which is about 18 minutes lower than my PB, but it's about what I was getting before I came here.
Right. So Brood War players click constantly as fast as possible, and that counts towards their APM. And what we got to is that effective actions in this series of games, you reach higher levels of APM compared to what like Brood War players would do. So that just goes to show how crazy fast people at this game can be.
Getting bad luck with some of these garbage clears is also another point where you get a lot of RNG because they turn into random blocks every time. Ooh, that was nice.
Yeah, I did. I didn't call them that, but I definitely discussed it.
He's gonna heal before I can kill him.
Alright, chat, hit me with more questions here.
Okay, that was really
There
fast.
we go. Murkrow's gone.
Yeah.
2 more stages?
One.
More stage left?
Dragonite.
Yeah. So now we're against Lance and Dragonite.
And you get new music too.
This is probably the best song in the whole game.
Yep. Yeah.
It's kind of like, actually a fun fact about Tetris Attack is that there's a whole musical soundtrack that doesn't get played compared to Panel de Pawn, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, it's played when Bowser appears, but not during any of the fights.
Yeah. Cordelia's theme or
Yep,
whatever.
Cordelia's theme.
Yep.
Don't get me started on Cordelia, she's a bitch.
Favorite Pokemon? I'll let other people answer. I mean, that one's a fairly obvious answer. Arcanine over there. What's your favorite Pokemon?
Mine is Tyranitar.
It's a pretty good one.
But that's I also love Aggron as well. There's just too many. There's a lot that I can name, but those two are probably my favorite, like my absolute favorites. Especially Shiny Aggron is really good.
I would have to say that probably my favorite Pokemon is either Scyther or Scissor, depending on the day.
Scissor's also another really good one.
Was the game have an option to turn off the Pokemon crying?
Nah, actually I think that it does, but you have to go into the extended options. I'm not sure if it does. I might. I'm not 100% positive on that though. But for me, I'm numb to it since I've combined between all the difficulties over 500 attempts of all the categories in this game. So I'm used to all the cries by now, including all the Pokemon you play as, because you actually don't hear the Pokemon that you play as cries in this mode. You only hear it in all of the non-AI modes, like Marathon and those modes. Time's also going to be coming up very soon whenever this guy decides to die. Or, excuse me, faint.
Have I seen the Detective Pikachu film, and if so, how did I feel about it? I have not yet, unfortunately.
I have not. FFR Pro, who's going to be here shortly, hopefully, has seen it. And he'd be able to answer that question for you.
I hope to see it soon. I have heard mixed reviews.
Time.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, by the way, is FFR Pro here yet?
No.
Okay, I actually want to, is it alright if the credits go? It's about 4 minutes. Cool. The reason why I want to let the credit music play is because this, when I first heard it, it's one of the few songs that actually made me cry. Video game songs. There's only like 3 in all video games that actually made me cry the first time I heard it. Another one is Suicune's battle theme from Heart Gold Soul Silver, and actually that's the only 2 that have actually made me cry.
Oddly enough, the first song that made me cry was the theme of Ness's home from Earthbound. Which is kind of an odd one.
I'm just an asshat. I haven't cried at video game music.
Yeah, the song is great. And actually, there's a lot of ending themes that I've actually just starting speedrunning that I've actually got really